Okay, be good to start with just a little bit of background as to how you got involved in the IT sector. I don't know, whether it's something early on in life you'd always sort of had a goal to, or you arrived at it by accident. Different people, find it at different routes. Just yeah, how did you arrive in the IT space?
So actually, it was by accident. I grew up in Portugal and I wanted to be a journalist. I studied communication science, and then totally by accident, I ended up working in a industrial company. And my first boss mentor got me into the IT world, designing in 3D CAD software, which was pretty advanced at the time. That was two and a half decades ago. And then really from there, made the jump to enterprise software companies and been there for the last, again, 25 years plus. And it's been a great ride, really around the world. I literally lived in all the three big continents in Europe, lived in Asia, and now I'm based out of the East Coast in the US.
Okay, and your current role is Chief Operating Officer at CyberArk. So I guess it'd be good to understand what, I know that's a big job title, but what does it encompass? What are you currently doing?
Yeah. So at CyberArk, as COO, I really have all of the, let's say, customer-facing functions. So go-to-market strategy, the sales teams, the partner channel teams, and also all the post-sales or the customer success teams. So if we think, across the customer lifecycle, really all the teams facing the customer, and that allows me really to focus on what my background is and what I really like to do, which is make sure that we are delivering value across all the life cycle of the customer. And I've been in CyberArk now for a little less than 2 months, so it's pretty new.
Okay, and in terms of more generally the career you've described over the past few decades, um, what particular challenges and I suppose even opportunities do you think you sort of bumped into along the way? And I'm just curious that, I mean, would you sort of call those normal challenges that everyone experience, or because you are a woman in the IT space,
Mhm.
obviously it's no secret it's fairly male dominated still. Anything that you thought was because of your gender as opposed to just
Hmm.
general business challenges?
Well, my entry into the tech world was actually a little bumpy because my first interview to get into the enterprise software, I was being interviewed by the last hiring manager who told me, you have great experience, but you have three problems. You're a woman, you're Portuguese, and you're not an engineer. To which I replied that none of those were my problems. Which then, obviously hired me. But I don't know if I would call that normal, or, maybe 20 something years ago that was normal. But it is something still very ingrained, I think, that challenging of who you are. And across my career, I lived in Japan. I got told, or before I went there, that Portuguese women in Japan, how are you gonna be able to lead those teams? And it just happened across all the different functions and across all the different roles. But honestly, I see that more as an opportunity. It gave me the opportunity to just double down on being authentic, being who I am. Obviously, it takes believing in yourselves and self-confidence to be able to overcome those stereotypes without actually changing who you are and using it to your advantage, which I believe is what I embraced as an opportunity. And I also, for sure, embraced all the opportunities I've been giving by my mentors and my sponsors, and the opportunities I found by myself. And that led me, to a very, I think, a successful career, and now a CEO of CyberArk. I learned a lot, but also teach me these challenges teach me a lot of empathy and really striving to understand what really makes people tick around the world and what they really are at their core, and be very curious about people. I also think that helped me along my career for sure, and my personal life too, by the way.
And you referenced a couple of times mentors and support, so it'd be good to
Mhm.
understand who that are. Have they been both male and female mentors, and just individuals, whether you want to name them or
Mhm.
not, but just the help you've had
Yeah.
along the way.
They actually been more male than female. Well, I guess that's just because most of leadership has been male across my time. No, not for any other reason. And all the way from my first boss when I joined this industrial company 18 years ago, when I was 18 years old, that helped me get into the world of working and teach me a lot about how to behave. Because basically I was 18 and it was an industrial company with just male, like 3 times my age, and how to really work with them and how to learn. And all the way to actually my current boss at CyberArk, the CEO, Matt Cohen, who's been my sponsor for the last 20 years and involved really in a lot of the decisions in my career. So I had really a lot of both mentors, sponsors, and also, along the way, people that have coached me, helped me in different areas. So I think that allyship and that sponsoring and mentoring has played a huge difference in my career. And hopefully I've done the same for a few people along the way.
And in terms of how you've seen, hopefully, for the better, the industry change, have you observed a sort of what I call a step change, or has it just been a gradual change and not too dramatic? Or you, from where you were, as you say, 18 years old to where you are now, would you not recognize that world that you came from, if you like?
It's interesting. I think there's a step change in terms of tools, awareness, forums, the importance of it, how diverse teams, not just from a gender perspective or from all backgrounds, have more support infrastructure in terms of, the employee resource groups, the mentorships, a lot more awareness in the society about it, a lot more programs to help you getting into tech. But I think, the real impact, when you see what happens in the tech world and how little diverse it still is, right? It's still very, men dominated and not as diverse as we would like. I would say the impact is not as visible as the infrastructure to create that impact is, if that makes sense, right? So I think there's still a lag in terms of actually seeing the impact. We still are very, male dominated at all levels in the tech world by far.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no doubt more work to be done, and you've perhaps identified one of it there, that if you like, the talk is good, but perhaps the actions to back it up isn't quite there. But also the board level. I mean, you've got to the board level, but as I understand it, if women are getting on for a third of the workforce in the IT industry, I suspect they're far less than that in terms of percentage at board level. So is that another sort of hurdle to have? Just your thoughts as to, I suppose, where we are and what more needs to be done.
It is a hurdle, and I think one of the tools I believe to overcome that hurdle is where we see, and that's been my experience, where we see a lot of the drop off is actually that intermediate management level, and that has a lot to do with continuing to work around tools and performance management and talent management, and empowering first level managers, second level managers to take the right decisions as they as they are managing younger people coming in their career, getting first time promoted, second time promoted. Because once you start really dropping and losing the diverse talent at that level, it's just never going to come all the way up to the board, right? Because you get stuck on that level. And I think at that level, we still have a lot to do. That's why, the talk is there. And, if you look at people that are at executive level, even at director level, maybe they have enough, awareness of the tools, of the importance, and they talk the talk, and maybe they even walk the walk. But if the people that are first line and second line managers don't, you lose talent there. So I think the industry still has a lot of work to do to help those levels. So, both people coming into the tech world, but then really through those first years and those first management positions, helping, that be a strength. I think today is still a weakness.
Okay, and in terms of throughout your career, any particular lessons you've learned that might be helpful for others, wherever they are on their journey? Any sort of thoughts, advice to hand on as to how to navigate this still unequal workplace?
Yeah, Look, I think asking for help is maybe the biggest piece of advice that I can give anyone, navigating this, asking for help in terms of asking for mentors, sponsors, asking for, programs to help coach you in an area that, you need to get coached on. And also like be aware, like if you're feeling that something is not right, that, a conversation didn't feel right, or you think you're getting blocked, by somebody that is struggling with understanding, your different points of view. If you feel it's wrong, it's not right, it's likely that it is, something is there. So, speak up, ask for help, don't think, oh, don't minimize it, like think, oh, it's not that big deal. It is a big deal because it just accumulates. So I would say my biggest piece of advice is finding help, and then for everyone is continue, to be curious, always be learning, be a constant learner, specialize in one area, but really be good and understanding across all the different spectrums, because the more you keep learning and the more you're curious, the more you bring a point of view to the conversations. And sometimes that is what matters, right? Is, I'm talking about women now, but it happens with other minorities, which is, it's a little harder sometimes just to fight those, those feelings of a little bit imposter syndrome and bringing a point of view. So I would say bring a point of view, ask for help would be my two big advices.
And in terms of now you are, where you're at your position, do you feel that gives you either responsibility and or opportunity to help promote equality and diversity? Do you feel that a special responsibility, or do you just sort of do that anyways, or do you make a sort of particular point of helping those that are coming after you, if you like?
I think it's the two cents. Look, I feel like personally I've been doing that for most of my career because I truly believe in it and I like people and helping people. And if I would say like one, when people ask what are you more proud of in your career, it's always that I can name, the people that I know that I helped and elevated throughout my career. So I think I've done that naturally, but this position, as my previous positions too, just give me more visibility and more access. So if by doing the same thing I've been doing, from a leadership style, from a mentoring style, from, if others feel inspired by it and, can elevate themselves, at a bigger, maybe a faster rate because I reach more people, then I think, that's a great outcome. But it doesn't mean I necessarily do something very different, except that I have more exposure. So more opportunities to do that at a broader scale.
Okay, and before we finish, sort of coincidentally, I think you produced a survey or a report fairly recently looking at cybersecurity and equality, or at least how it impacts people in different ways. And I think I'm right in thinking one of the main headline findings was to do with the AI explosion. Everyone's aware it's here now. There's some great opportunities, but there's some downsides, some significant. And I think you uncovered that women are significantly more sort of apprehensive, shall we say, of the potential for AI allied with the cyber criminals, if you like, to cause mischief for them. Just can you just expand on a little bit on the report, the findings?
Yeah, the biggest difference is really, the women being much more concerned about the AI tools impersonating and taking over, their identity, and a public identity, and more than men. And honestly, I think that's a very direct consequence that the kind of most women being very exposed and so aware of the violence against them, really, in social media in general, and the abuse of their social media profiles. But even in terms of the research, like the scams, that women are much more a higher percentage victims of scams than men are. It's just a reality. I think The Economist says 85% of the women have witnessed online violence against other women, and not just, inside their networks, people they know, as well as obviously people they don't know outside of their network. There's another study that says that it's almost 70% of the people that have actually reported cyber stalking were women, and I think that's the University of Bedfordshire's. And there was a study done in Australia that I think 4,000 identity thefts. There was a study from ACAN and ID Care, and 2/3 of that 4,000 were women. So I think it's very natural that women are more concerned, just because they've been, until now, really the biggest targets of these type of attacks and violence on the online world.
And presumably also I think again the report uncovered something that the consequences as well for women are potentially far worse than for men in many cases. So that's gives them sort of added cause for concern. Is that right?
Exactly. Yep. It's just it's so front and center that I think AI just exacerbates, right, exponentially that concern, which is already a very real, not just a concern, it's a reality of the violence that already exists out there.
And I know we could have a separate conversation about AI, but if we brief it, clearly there are massive upsides, as everyone explains. Some phenomenal things are already being done and can be done, but there is this significant underbelly. Do you worry? I know governments talk grandly about regulating and stuff, but the reality is, let's face it, once the genie's out of the bottle, people will do with it what they want. It's very difficult to do you worry that if you like, the downsides will if not outweigh the upsides, it'll at least make it not as clear case for AI as one would like, if that makes sense.
Well, I'm optimist. I'm optimist that the advantages and all the investment, not just regulation and government input, but like the companies, all the industries doing to really leverage it as an advantage, to leverage it to prevent what will be the next step, of the attackers in terms of, them also using AI. The education of our newer generations and the current generations on responsible usage of AI and overall just of in the digital world. It will outweigh the negative impact. But I would say I am carefully optimist, but still concerned that we just don't know what we don't know of how exponentially this will develop. But I think it brings so much advantages and so much potential that I continue to be on the optimist side.
And maybe just finally, in terms of equality, diversity in the workplace, clearly things are progressing, but do you think almost the sort of the foundation of all this is people from whatever backgrounds and genders, etc., just being more understanding or trying to put themselves in other people's perspective, because we all come with a set of, I guess, baggage from our own backgrounds and kind of assume everyone else has the same view or whatever. So it's important just to sort of take a pause and think, okay, right, let's try and imagine the other side or whatever. Do you think that's, I always say the secret, but it's an important part of progressing? Because I know, for example, there was a survey I saw recently, I can't remember who did it, but I think 4 out of 5 men in the IT industry don't think there's an equality problem, which rather depressed me when I found that. But maybe, as I say, that's partly because they just don't engage their brains and think of the problem. So yeah, a long-winded way of saying, do you think empathizing, trying to understand other people sort of where they're coming from is a key point to help improve the situation?
I don't even think it's one key. I think it's the key. I think I benefit from, first of all, not just by being a woman, but by having, lived and work all around the world with people from all kind of different backgrounds and really understand how they think and how they take decisions and how they process information and emotions. But not everyone has had the opportunity to do that. So you have to kind of get out of your comfort zone. If I have like an ask or a wish is that, we take as much importance in training and developing and coaching and enabling people around, developing your emotional intelligence and your empathy towards others, as much, self-awareness, empathy, everything in the realm of emotional intelligence. If we would do that at the same pace and rate that we teach, technical skills and other leadership skills, I think we would all be better. It's not just about the EI programs. It is very important, but I think in the context of really learning and practicing, the different aspects of, you said empathy, it's one of them, but it starts with you being even self-aware and socially aware and all in context. I think that would go a long, long way because, again, it all starts there. If you don't even think there is a problem, you can't fix it, right?
It's been great to chat, some brilliant thoughts and insights into the world of work, equality, etc. As Eduardo, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.